Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very, very well. Having a good Monday. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's get straight into today's stories. And let's start off talking about a possible match between Edge and Daniel Bryan in the future. Now, this is certainly something very interesting because reportedly, WWE Hall of Famer and Men's 2021 Royal Rumble match winner Edge has been pushing for a match against Daniel Bryan this year. This is according to a report from the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter. Now, after winning the Royal Rumble match last Sunday, Edge is yet to officially announce his WrestleMania opponent, but is reportedly expected to be facing WWE Universal Champion Raymond Reigns on the grandest stage of them all. As of right now, we still don't know whether there are plans for Edge or Reigns to leave WrestleMania with the championship, but during a recent interview with CBS Sports, Edge noted that he didn't just want a match against Daniel Bryan, he wanted an Iron Man match. Edge said, quote, "I'd love to do an Iron Man with Daniel Bryan. There's just so much talent I would love to get in the ring with. It's just really fun for me because I get to see them wide-eyed because we're having this cool special moment. I want more of those." So it certainly would be interesting if we saw Edge versus Daniel Bryan at some point. I think there's so many facets to that are fascinating. One is obviously that they're both on the creative team right now. Obviously they work for their respective shows. I mean, Edge isn't really tied down to any show at this point. He's on Raw, NXT, Smackdown, all in 1 week. So Edge is more on the creative team for his own character, but Daniel Bryan's certainly on the creative team for Smackdown and helping push underutilized talent or try and get over newer talent as he comes towards the end of his career. So certainly would be interesting if you had Edge and Daniel Bryan in a bit of a program, because they would have so much creative license there that they really could do something really special and really interesting. I'd be fascinated to see what would or could happen in a Edge versus Daniel Bryan match. Especially an Iron Man match. You think of the ability they have in terms of their in-ring ability, their ability they have in terms of telling a story, the ability both men have in terms of promos as well, plus the creative freedom of being veterans but also being on the creative team. They have the ear of the people that matter, that being Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard, in terms of the creative ideas they want to get across. There's certainly so much there that could be really, really special to see. So that would certainly be really interesting. As to when we will see it, I mean, I don't know. I think when it comes to Edge, something that I've mentioned this several times before, obviously Edge returning last year was so miraculous and it was incredible and, you know, it was amazing to see. But one of the things that personally myself I was so excited about during that period of time, once the dust had settled on Edge's return, was think of all the people Edge can face that he never really faced off against before. Daniel Bryan falls into that category. Now, I know there's maybe a slight bit of overlap in terms of Edge and Daniel Bryan being on the same roster at the same time, sort of 2010, 2011. For the life of me, I can't recall if they've ever been in this ring at the same time. I'm not sure that they have. I know they were teammates, weren't they, when it came to SummerSlam in 2010, Team WWE versus Team Nexus. I just can't remember if they've had a really long match. If they have, I mean, I doubt it was anything that memorable because I can't remember it. So it certainly wasn't a long program, pay-per-view main event or anything of that nature. So I'd love to see it. Everyone would love to see it. Will we see it? I don't know. And I think, like I said, with Edge's return last year, opened up the possibility of facing off against all these people we hadn't really seen Edge face off against before. Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Edge, facing himself, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, all those names, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, those names are the people we really want to see Edge face off against. So Daniel Bryan versus Edge is something I really want to see, and hopefully we will get to see it. Now, Edge has been in the news a lot recently, of course. I mean, he won the Royal Rumble match. But when it comes to Edge winning the Rumble match, there was obviously a lot of criticism about Edge winning the Rumble match. He's 47 years of age, and you had those social media warriors saying, how dare he? How dare Edge win the Royal Rumble match? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's just, it's terrible. They're not pushing younger talent, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, Edge had certainly stuff to say about it. He said, I can't control people's opinions. I can't control if people have ageism issues. What I want to do is come back and tell how the story is told and tell it with multiple dance partners. If those dance partners can make something of it, that's great. That's my goal. And look, when it comes to Edge having to address it, I think, first of all, I think the criticism of him having to justify why he won the Rumble is ridiculous. Yes, he's 47 years of age, but I've mentioned this before. That story is so great that if WWE didn't tell that story, people would be criticizing them, saying, I can't believe they haven't told that story of Edge winning the Rumble. Night 2 of WrestleMania falls 10 years to the day that Edge was forced to retire and relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship in 2011. 10 years to the day he can be in the main event of WrestleMania and possibly win a World Championship that he never lost. That story is incredible. That story is, if you wrote it in Hollywood, you say it was unbelievable, all that kind of stuff. This is real life. And if WWE passed up on that, I would be the first to criticise them. First to criticise them, saying, look, you had a story, it was right there and you didn't go for it. This story's too good to ignore. And I think if WWE did that, it just wouldn't have been the right call. It wouldn't have been the right call. And frankly, you do have to wonder, are there stars that maybe should have won the Rumble instead of Edge? I mean, there's probably a couple of possibilities, maybe a Big E, someone like that, but frankly, maybe the fact is that WWE had to have Edge win it. I mean, the story, like I said, was too good to turn down. But also, look, WWE's ability to build new stars is fundamentally flawed right now. Massively flawed. I've said this time and time again. Who's the biggest star that NXT have created? Male star. Obviously, they've created a ton of female big stars. But NXT, what's the biggest male star that's come out of the Performance Center? And before people go, well, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, they were already signed. They were already there at FCW. Since the inception of the Performance Center and the new NXT in 2012, what's happened? What's happened to male stars? Who? Braun Strowman? Well done. You know what I mean? There are fundamental issues there. And does that fall into Edge winning the Rumble? Maybe. But ultimately, it's just too good of a story to turn down. And I think if anyone tried to argue that, Edge doesn't deserve to win the Rumble because he's 47 or he shouldn't be winning the Rumble, they should be putting over younger stars. To me, it just doesn't work. That is as a story, I don't subscribe to that. I really don't subscribe to that. I think there's plenty of reasons why Edge should win the Rumble, and ultimately the story's too good. The story is way too good to turn down. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a ridiculous argument. I really do. Let's move on. And let's talk about, obviously, I don't know if you're aware, the Super Bowl took place last night. And why are we talking about this in a wrestling program? Well, we're talking about it because it does lead into WrestleMania, because, of course, it took place at Raymond James Stadium last night. And WWE, Stephanie McMahon has mentioned this, they're using it as an indicator as to what WrestleMania can look like for them this year. Of course, WrestleMania across 2 nights is taking place in Raymond James Stadium at a limited capacity. It's not going to be sold out capacity. Last night at the Super Bowl, there was 25,000 fans in attendance. And WrestleMania reports that both nights they're looking to have 30,000, maybe even more on both nights. Now, there is so much to get into with that one. First of all, let's look at it aesthetically. Basically, what the Super Bowl did, what the NFL did, is they had 25,000 fans. A lot of those were vaccinated key frontline workers. But what also they did, they had cardboard cutouts in the crowd, which made the stadium look fuller. It made it look fuller, and it made it look like it was sold out to capacity. In fairness, I mean, that picture doesn't really do it justice. It's difficult to do it justice. But if you watched the game last night, you would have been able to see that, it looked great. The stadium looked great. The crowd that was there looked great. It looked like it was full. It had an atmosphere. The stadium looked great, and I think WWE, if they were watching that last night, they would have said, look, it looks good. We can do better. Given the pomp and circumstance that comes with pro wrestling that maybe isn't there for pro football, I think they're looking at that saying, look, we can do that. There's something to work with there. So I think they'll be very happy with how that looked like and how it turned out last night. I mean, if you watch the halftime show with The Weeknd, the spectacle that was, WWE would have been looking at that no doubt and said, look, we can do that. That's what we've got to look for. Some of the visuals there, some of the production quality, and again, the fans that were in attendance and the cutouts, it all came together really, really well. So I think they did a fantastic job, and I think those in WWE will be looking at that saying, we can do that. My concern is, and it's always been my concern, and people can criticize it. I think if you criticize it, I think you're just, got your head up your behind. Frankly, it's still 25,000 fans in enclosed space. I know it's an open air stadium. I know social distancing, blah, blah, blah. It's still 25,000 people in one place during a pandemic. To me, that is insanity. That is absolute madness. I know certain states, some people are going to say, well, the state of Florida, it's different in the state of Florida, or certain places in the United States, it's different than where you are in the UK. I know that. I get it. But at any point in a pandemic where people are dying, and that's what it is, people are dying, having 25,000 people in the same space, to me, is just insanity. It's absolute insanity. There were all of those memes going around on social media last night of COVID going, like, rubbing its hands and all that kind of stuff, because that's what it is. That's what it is. And it will come out afterwards. It will come out saying that, oh, there was a spike in COVID cases in Tampa Bay because of the Super Bowl, because it's not just the fans in attendance last night. Maybe that game was safe as it can be. I mean, someone got on the pitch, which was a massive concern for me, but maybe that they are safe, but the visuals, the images, the videos that we saw on social media over the course of the past weekend, we saw so many people going to these Super Bowl parties outside the stadium, and big masses of people congregating without masks on, not socially distanced. In the stadium they were. In the stadium they were wearing masks, but outside of the stadium they weren't. What happens with WrestleMania? WrestleMania will be exactly the same, but with more fans, and they'll be congregating outside the stadium. They'll be having these parties. They'll be saying, oh, look, the pandemic's over. Look, because we're having this big event. Having that amount of people during the pandemic, to me, is madness. It is absolute madness. It's part of the reason as to why this pandemic will go on and on and on and on, because people deny that either it's not real or it doesn't account to them, it doesn't matter to them. Oh, it's the Super Bowl, it's a one-off, I'll go back to social distancing tomorrow. That's not how it works. So all of that sort of stuff, still to me, I love the game last night. I thought it was a spectacle. I thought Tom Brady was incredible. You say what you will about his politics and all that kind of stuff. Don't get me started on that. But he is the greatest of all time. The match was great. The spectacle was great. It did feel like we were back to an element of normal, because it felt comfortable again. It was a big game, a big spectacle, halftime show, fans in attendance. The crowd looked great. The stadium looked great. All of it. But it's very, very dangerous, in my opinion, to make you feel like you're not in a pandemic. We are where we are right now. You have to live in reality. And my concern watching that last night was WWE are going to be looking at that going, 25,000 fans, that's great. We're better than the NFL. We're bigger than the NFL. We're not just sports, we're sports entertainment. We can do the pageantry, we can do the spectacular light show, we can do the pyro, we can do all of it. And we can get more people in there across 2 nights. So if they do 30,000, 40,000, because the limits in Florida, it's unlimited. There aren't any. The Florida government have told them, you can have as many fans as you want. You can have full capacity if you really wanted to. They would never do that, because the PR alone would just be, it'd be reckless as is, but the PR would be unbelievably bad. But WWE would be looking at that going, we can have 30, we can have 40. And if they do that across both nights, I'm not saying you're going to have 40,000 on one night and then a completely different 40,000 on the same night. There would be a lot of crossover, but potentially you could have 80,000 people into that stadium. Yes, it'll be socially distanced. Yes, they could be wearing masks and hand sanitizing. Some might be vaccinated workers, like in the NFL. But outside the stadium, when you've got these people hanging around and having parties and celebrating and pretending like nothing is going on, that is very concerning. That is very, very concerning. And I just know WWE will be looking at that last night going, right, we can do it, but we can do it better. Did it get me excited for WrestleMania? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I want the pageantry and the showbiz and all that kind of stuff for WrestleMania. But I also want to be out of the pandemic. And I also don't want people to get sick or potentially worse because of a pro wrestling event. That is my concern there. So there's certainly a lot to look into. And certainly WWE would be watching the game very closely last night, seeing how the NFL pulled it off, which I did think they pulled it off. But there is a lot to be happy and a lot to be very, very concerned with, I think, when it comes to that. That's my opinion on it. I know everyone doesn't share that opinion. Speaking of the Super Bowl, though, Triple H gifted, as he does always, when there's a major sporting victory, Triple H gifted a custom WWE Championship to last night's Super Bowl winners, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He congratulated Tom Brady and his team on Twitter. He told them to enjoy the WWE Championship and that Rob Gronkowski will know what to do with it. Of course, Gronkowski is a former WWE 24/7 champion. He also hosted last year's WrestleMania 36. I tell you what, it was funny because obviously Gronk got 2 touchdowns last night, which was incredible. As a guy that was retired last year, and he was going to transition into WWE. That hosting gig wasn't a one-time thing. That was his introduction into being a WWE superstar. There was talks, and I think even a contract that he was going to have matches. I think there was a big indicator if SummerSlam did take place in Boston, as was the plan last year, he was going to have a match at SummerSlam. He was probably going to team up with Mojo Rawley and do something. I don't know who would have been against, whatever. But Gronk was going to transition into becoming a WWE superstar. He saw the writing on the wall. He was a 24/7 champion, and look, he was... I don't think he was a natural by any stretch of the imagination. You know, he didn't want to jump off a railing, and Vince McMahon in his 70s had to show him how to do it. Did he have charisma? Yes, I think they tried to force it a little bit too much. Who knows? If he'd have stuck at it for a couple of years, he might have become an amazing pro wrestler. He might come back to it. You know, WWE are desperate to have him back from it. And when it comes to Raw tonight, how many Rob Gronkowski mentions are we going to get on that show? It's going to be horrifying and so frustrating how many times we're going to see Gronk, 24/7 championship, Gronk, oh, you know Gronk's this, Gronk that. It's going to be... I mean, it will never end. It will never end when it comes to Gronk tonight. It's WWE's cling to mainstream, you know, publicity at the moment. Gronk, you know, he's a former 24/7 champion, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to see a lot of that tonight on Raw. But, you know, maybe he'll come back. Maybe, I mean, I guess his stock's up even higher. He's got even more Super Bowl rings right now, Gronk. So maybe we'll see something with him with WWE again. But the only thing I would say about that is it looks like him and Tom Brady are staying on for at least another year with the Bucks. So I don't know. I did really enjoy the game, though. I must say, I really did enjoy the game last night. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. But let's switch back to WWE because that's what we're talking about, pro wrestling here. We got some news when it comes to Smackdown and the ratings this week. Well, the overnight ratings, not the confirmed ratings, that must be said. Friday Smackdown drew an average of 2.126 million live viewers in the overnight ratings. This is according to Showbuzz Daily. Now, Hour 1 drew 2.144 million live viewers, and then Hour 2 went down to 2.108 million live viewers. Smackdown also drew an average of a 0.6 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic, which was tied for 2 for the night. If the number does hold up, which, again, sometimes they can go up and down, so it's not a confirmed number, this would be down 7.7% in viewership from last Friday's Smackdown, which drew an average of 2.304 million live viewers with a 0.62 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. So interesting. Again, it's difficult to say if this is a confirmed number because we have seen, especially in the last few weeks, quite a significant drop or raise once the ratings have been confirmed. So I don't know. Why did they go down? I think they would be concerned coming out of the Royal Rumble. You know, Royal Rumble was a big show, a newsworthy show, and everyone thought that Edge was going to confirm his match for WrestleMania against Raymond Reigns. He didn't, but there had been a lot of news in that. It was a hyped up appearance by Edge, Royal Rumble winner on the show. So I think they'll be a bit concerned that the number went down. This is meant to be WWE's big time of the year when the ratings go up, and time will tell if that does happen. Now the NFL season's over. Maybe, I guess you could look at it as people were already focused on the Super Bowl on Sunday. I think that's a bit of a stretch considering it was 48 hours before that. Obviously, again, it's difficult to analyse once we have the confirmed numbers. Will they be happy with that? Look, they're above 2 million live viewers, which they'll be happy with. I think Fox probably would want more. I think WWE would want more on network television. Again, ratings, we'll touch on this because we've got a really interesting rating story in a second when it comes to WWE. Ratings are very difficult to judge right now because television is changing so much. The way we consume content is changing so much, but they still do have an important story to tell, and that's why I always say they don't tell the whole picture, but they do show you a snapshot of it. So we'll probably speak about it tomorrow once these ratings have been confirmed, but certainly very interesting to keep an eye out for. But as I mentioned, speaking of ratings, I mentioned last week WWE had their Q4 and full year earnings call, and WWE's declining ratings was a hot topic on that call, as they've been a hot topic for the last couple of years. And WWE President Nick Khan addressed these declining ratings and how WWE's upcoming relationship with NBC Universal and the Peacock streaming service will help ratings growth. He said, quote, "We're always looking for ratings growth, no matter how high the ratings are. It's all about exceeding NBC's expectations. So there is flexibility. If the two entities came together and decided to put certain content on a linear platform, we have the ability to do that. Obviously, both parties, again, would have to agree to that. For now, we're focused on helping Peacock grow their subscriber base, and we're confident that we can do it." Now, Khan was asked what WWE is doing to reverse the ratings trends that's been going on for years when it comes to WWE's ratings declining. He responded by saying, quote, "We don't believe that we've lost eyeballs." He noted that WWE's social numbers and believes the eyeballs are there. He said, quote, "We don't believe that we've lost eyeballs. We believe eyeballs tend to shift from linear to digital platforms. So if you look at even our Facebook numbers, which are significantly up in the last 6 months or so, including the revenue against those numbers, we think the eyeballs are there. Like I said, we're always looking to grow ratings. So now we're coming out of a competitive presidential race that a lot of people were focused on, and we're still in the midst of a virus that a lot of people are focused on. We believe with the continued great in-ring product that the eyeballs are continuing to grow and will result in more linear linear eyeballs as some of the other stuff that I just mentioned passes. So we feel good about our position, and we think our network partners do as well. Now, obviously, a lot of that is just corporate BS talk that you just go, are you actually talking? Well, actually answer the question. Now, there's parts of that that I think are factually accurate. As I mentioned, ratings, do they matter as much in 2021 as they did in 1999? Of course they don't. And as he mentioned, social media numbers, the WWE's got a huge following on social media. Huge following on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter. Obviously, their numbers are great there, and there can be an argument made that they do have more eyeballs on the product than maybe they ever did because people just more casually follow them on these social media platforms. It's a very good point to make, and it's a strong argument to make. However, the issue with that is that if you're saying that, it's not as important as getting the big ratings on television, the issue is that your finances are largely driven by your television product. Your 2 TV deals with NBC Universal for Raw and Fox for Smackdown generate you $2.35 billion over 5 years. So you can't say that the ratings for the show aren't important, because they are, because they give you the most money. They're what's making you so financially viable right now, is because of the money you're getting for your television rights. So you can't kind of imply that, well, actually we're still doing very, very well because our social numbers are up. The television networks don't care about that. He can say, well, they're very happy. They're not happy. They're not happy when the ratings go down. Now, obviously, if they see it across the network, then they say, well, it's a wider problem than WWE. I get that. And like I said, his argument about the social numbers being up and eyeballs shifting to different platforms, that's very true. However, if you're delivering a good product and a program that's worth watching and a can't-miss program, people will still watch it on television. They won't wait to follow it on social media. They won't wait to follow it the next day on YouTube and watch it in 5 minutes, because they'll have to see it, because they don't want to be spoiled. The NFL, the Super Bowl last night, no one went, well, it's a couple of hours, ugh, I don't know if I can be bothered, I'll watch 5 minutes on YouTube tomorrow. No one would do that, because it's can't miss. WWE, if it was can't miss television, the ratings would be higher. Ultimately, the ratings are down for programs like Raw because the show is bad. The show is bad. Ratings would be going down anyway. That's agreeable, I guess. But ultimately, the ratings are far down because the program's bad. Fix the program first, the ratings will come. Now, will they continue to decline? Probably, because, as he mentioned, the landscape changes. But ultimately, that show's bad. Raw's a bad show, and that's partially why the ratings are down too. And finally, we want to send out our thoughts to WWE Hall of Famer Terry Funk, because AEW star Dustin Rhodes tweeted yesterday. He took to Twitter and asked fans to pray for WWE Hall of Famer Terry Funk. Rhodes revealed that he talked to the 76-year-old yesterday on the phone and that he is in a lot of pain. He said, quote, just got off the phone with Terry Funk. He is in a lot of pain and could use some prayers. One of the greatest, #true legends to ever be in the ring. Appreciate y'all. Now, obviously, Dustin Rhodes then came out afterwards and sort of clarified this and said that Funk is dealing with a lot of hip pain right now, and it's always horrible to see any legend, especially with the legacy and status of a Terry Funk, that's struggling or in a bit of pain right now. So follow Dustin's advice, send your thoughts and your prayers and well wishes to Terry Funk. We certainly do, and hopefully he can get better soon and find a way to get out of pain. It's a horrible situation to be in, it really is. But of course, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.